Tomorrow 18 Hours special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform in the country, a show where you can voice your concerns and get answers to all your queries directly from our team of experts. We understand the issues that you, the MSME entrepreneur, face, and the show aims to bring you the most relevant and the most updated information on everything related to your businesses. Tonight on MSME Dialogues, we're bringing you a conversation that my colleague Pooja Jain had with the top management of Marriott. Listen in.
So thank you for joining us on Leaders of Tomorrow.
My pleasure.
We'll start with a question perhaps on everyone's mind. What are the implications of the Marriott-Starwood merger, both in the global context and in the context of the Indian market in particular?
I would say that the size. Size is probably one of the first things that comes off of our mind. We think of size giving the opportunity for customers to choose. Marriott was 4,400 hotels, and the largest percentage of our hotels were actually in the United States. Starwood was 1,300 hotels, mostly outside the United States, the biggest proportion. So we've now given our clients the opportunity to stay in many more locations. In the context of India, we are now at almost 90 hotels. So it's hard to travel to a city in India today that doesn't have one of our hotels. But not just one of our hotels, different brands. And so you take a city like Mumbai. In the case of Mumbai, you could stay at a Courtyard, you could stay at a St. Regis, we're building a Ritz-Carlton, you've got a JW, and we continue to build different brands in different locations in different submarkets. And so this gives our clients the opportunities to stay with us in different trips. And you may choose one brand if you're traveling with your spouse, another brand if you're traveling with your kids, or one if you're traveling on work, and that's very common also. One brand to have a wedding. And hopefully one brand not to have not for a divorce celebration.
Well, let's talk more about the integrated entity and the brands as you mentioned. Sure. In Asia Pacific alone, there are 20 distinct brands under this newly formed umbrella. So how do you deal with brand integration and yet individually classify each of these brands in the market?
It's easy. We have 30 brands in the world. We have 20 brands in Asia Pacific, and we have 14 brands in India. And when we look at it, we think of being on the shelf for the right customer at the right time. And so offering what they want. In some ways, I think of it in terms of soft drinks. In our house, we have Coke Zero for myself. My wife likes Orangina. My daughter likes regular Coke, and my son likes Pepsi. And so we have to stock each one of these. And Travelers are the same way. Each brand sits in a different space. And when we first started looking at brands, we started off with one brand, Marriott. And we started to grow as a company. We looked at, let's call it vertical branding, where you had economy brands like Fairfield, you had the mid-tier brands like Courtyard, and then you went to full service like Marriott. And then we bought as a company, we bought Ritz-Carlton. And so you went this direction. We've now seen that travelers want to go this direction. You've got brands that we call lifestyle brands that are out there, the W, the Renaissance, Edition, that are more for kind of explorer people that want to taste a little bit more local, a little more trendy. And then you've got the brands maybe that are built for me or my father, that generation, that are more about reliability and a little bit more of sameness, and we see those. And so we're able to offer much more to the customers going forward. And we haven't seen the brand blur that we thought. We were worried about it in the beginning, but customers definitely have preferences, and it depends on which part of the city. And we're able to, if we have hotels across the street, not put similar brands across the street from each other, so that we're able to pick each customer depending on their decision.
Now with over 500 properties across 20 countries, how do you create a common corporate culture such that employees are integrated across geographies?
It's a worry of ours. It was a worry when we went overseas. We have an incredibly strong culture as a company. And it started with our founder, whose mantra was, if you take care of the associate will take care of the guest, and they'll return time after time. And I remember when I first started with Marriott, they found out I had grown up overseas, and so I got shipped off overseas, and that was a big worry at that time. Even when we just went outside of the United States, was will we lose our culture, will we lose our brands? And we found it really came down to leadership. We continue to invest in the people that work for us. We continue to keep kind of our golden rules of taking care of our associates. We promote within first. And so one of the things that we've done, especially in Asia Pacific, is we're decentralizing our organization. We did it as a company years ago and brought presidents out to the markets like Hong Kong, like myself, so that decisions could be made closer to the markets. And I remember years ago, we used to sit around and say, oh, those guys in Washington, D.C., what do they know about doing business in Asia? Those idiots, what can they tell us about how to do work in Asia? The same question is happening today. What can the idiots in Hong Kong, like myself, know about doing business in India? And that's why we've got an area vice president here. He's got an area team here, and we're breaking up and we're decentralizing even more. so that you take the global concepts, but you can localize them in each market. And that might be a hotel concept, but that's also culture, making sure that we get it right. And there's still the golden principles behind it. We still do associate engagement surveys every year, but we want them to be able to do it within the context. And so all the food, we have cafeterias where we serve food in every country in Asia Pacific for free, but it's all different food.
So with the year-end rush upon us, many companies in the hospitality space are all vying for business, large and small. What would your advice be to micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs in this space with respect to managing and outpacing the competition?
I'd say one, decide where you want to play. In other words, you can't be everything. I think even in a point of leadership and also in terms of companies, you have to it's harder to decide what you're not going to do than to decide what you're going to do. You can't compete everywhere. And you've got to decide where you're going to be strong and where you're going to put your resources. And if you do that, you've got a competitive advantage. The second thing that I would say, looking forward in today's world, is you've got to go digital. Everything's going digital. And in our industry, when I started, it was phone calls to make reservations. It went from that to faxes, and we thought we were on the cutting edge. And then it went to internet, and now everything's done on mobile. Everything's done on mobile. And so we're seeing these digital platforms moving forward. And the third one would be listen to your customers. Today's customers are different than the old days. We would advertise in the old days, and people would come in, and we would stand in the lobby and listen to what they had to say when they checked out. Today, our customers are talking on social media in every venue. So even my son took his Jeep in to get repaired. We took it to a shop, and we made the mistake of not looking on social media. The shop we took it to was poorly rated. And we found one across the street. We took it later on and got it fixed there. So from mechanics to hotels, every part of the world today, you have feedback on social media. And if you want to succeed, you have to listen to your customers. And where they're talking today isn't in the lobby of the hotel, it's on social media.
I'd like to talk more about that. From your point of view, has the hospitality industry embraced technology the way it should?
We have. It's expensive, and that was one of the reasons we put the two companies together. With the cost of the backbone behind all of this work that you have to do to get the websites ready in all the different languages and have them set up the way that each country wants it done, it's very costly. And we were able to do it. We do, at Marriott alone, this is before the merger, we did about $10 billion in direct Marriott.com sales. So think of that, it makes us one of the largest global sites in the world. And that's tremendous in that aspect. But we started off, we're looking at it just, people were booking on their laptop. And then they went to tablet. And today, everything is going mobile. I mean, we're seeing more and more things have to happen on mobile. So people are making the reservations on mobile. We patted ourselves in the back, and that wasn't enough. They wanted to check in on mobile. So we have the ability for you to check in any Marriott hotel. And this year, in 2017, we'll roll out Starwood hotels. You'll be able to check in on your mobile device. You'll be able to send requests. I need an extra pillow via your telephone, instead of having to pick up the phone and call. So everything is moving that way, whether it's reservations, booking, communication, and feedback is moving to this platform. And so it's taking over. And one of the things that we struggle with, especially with our older general managers, is understanding that internet speed, bandwidth in a room, is just as important as hot water. So if you woke up in the morning and there wasn't hot water, you'd have a terrible stay, you'd ask for your money back. Well, today the same thing's happening. If internet ever goes out of my house, my wife has a heart attack, my kids are incapable of moving, and I can't work, the house shuts down. And it's the same way today. And we've got to offer these bandwidths and assume that everything is happening and they're streaming TV shows. So that's the next thing that's happening for us. We're looking at people bringing their own content, and we're testing this now, where you can, at home, I have cable, but I only watch the English Premier League on cable. Everything else I stream through Apple or Netflix or one of these things, and we're seeing people wanting to watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it. And so the TV of the future, and I say future, I mean in the next few years, will be a box that you can log into your own content from your phone or whatever, and watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it, hopefully without commercials.
And how would you define your management style? And are there sort of aspects of the management style of the younger generation that you think you incorporate in how you run business today?
We've seen that the new generation wants to be involved and we want to communicate directly. And so one of the things we've done is we've gone back and said, how do we communicate on their channels? So for associates, for clients, and we're seeing that becoming more and more popular. And so I think it behooves old people like myself to continue to learn. And I worry when I look at leaders across the world that many leaders don't see learning as important, or continuous learning. So I would say learning, or being a learner, is a key to being. What you learned in graduate school, what I learned in my MBA 300 years ago, isn't going to make me successful tomorrow. It was the basis, but I need to continue to learn. The second thing is measurement. And I think that we confuse, and the generation today confuses it as much as my generation did, or sometimes maybe a little more. We confuse activity with accomplishment. So we say we did all, I ask, how do we know if we're doing a good job? Well, I flew here, I flew there, I visited this hotel, I visited that hotel, great. You just told me you're busy. But how do you know? You have to measure the output. And you have to measure it honestly and simply. And I don't see enough of that happening. And so my team, everyone talks about how Craig loves to measure everything. But I also believe in measurement as far as the balanced scorecard approach. You have many different things that you have to, as a business leader, look at. I can go into any business tomorrow and make more money, cut costs, and there's no genius to that. I can go into any business tomorrow and lift up sales, hire 5 times as many sales managers, spend twice as much on marketing, and sales will go up. I can go into any business tomorrow and make associates happy, give them more money, give them free food in the cafeteria, give them ice cream every Friday, and I can go into any business and keep the customer happy by giving them more things. To do all of those at the same time is a balanced approach. And long-term success in a business is lifting all of those up together. If we want to succeed in India, we have to lift guest satisfaction, associate satisfaction, our profit for our hotels, and our sales for the hotels all at the same time. And that is the hardest part. That balancing act of doing it at the same time is the hardest part for being a leader. And that happens in any industry. So if you're running a small business somewhere and you're selling groceries out of a small store, you have to look at the same thing. Are the people that are working for me happy? Are they doing a good job? Are my customers happy? Am I making profit? You can do 1 or 2 or 3 of those. Long-term success will only happen all 4 at the same time.
On that note, it's time for a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll continue bringing you this conversation with hospitality major Marriott. Welcome back. You're with us here on The Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're continuing this conversation with Marriott.
For startups in this space, entrepreneurs in the hospitality space, are there opportunities for them to partner with companies like yourself?
There are, and we've set that up. We were strong with brands before. We just signed a few hotels over the last few weeks with their first-time owners, and we've had great success with folks like this, and we show them how to do it. Many of our owners across the world with Courtyards and Fairfield Inns actually started off as a mom and pop operation, as we call it, that had a hotel that they wanted to rebrand. We also have the opportunity for people to have their own hotel and their own brand, and maybe an iconic brand. We call it Autograph. And the Autograph collection is a collection of hotels. And so you can have your distinct name, and it's part of the Autograph collection, and you're able to plug it into our channels, so to speak. So receive reservations, Marriott Rewards guests will be able to book through the same channel. The luxury collection is another example that we do that. And so we're seeing value of that. And when I was a young hotelier, people looked for consistency. They wanted to fly to London, Mumbai, New York City, and they wanted every hotel room to look the same, and a Marriott burger here and a Marriott burger there. And today's traveler is much more adventurous. Folks from your age, you want to experience something different. You don't want to have a hamburger and everything. You don't want the room to look the same, even in the same brand. And so our designs today have to take that into account. And so we've got beautiful standalone hotels that entrepreneurs have. And we said, how can we plug these into our system? And there's opportunities for them to do that. They can't build that infrastructure that we talked about earlier, the infrastructure of social media and booking channels. It's too expensive for them. And the easy thing for them to do is to plug into another system and then save the identity that they have and continue to manage their hotel themselves.
I'd like to talk more about that and what lessons the Indian hospitality industry could adopt from our global peers, from your point of view.
I would say think globally and think less bureaucratically. And so one of the things that there's a tendency in India to want to make the boss happy versus making the customer happy. I always say that if I walk in a hotel in India and I say, could I have a cup of tea, 15 people will scurry off to get me a cup of tea. If a client walks in and says, can I have a cup of tea, it takes a little while longer. The truth of the matter is they see me as paying their salary. That's not true. The client pays their salary. It just goes through me and then comes back to them. And I think there's a need for it to de-layer hotels and teach empowerment, but then hold people accountable. See, the misnomer that we see in the business world is people talk about empowerment, but they don't give the accountability, or they give accountability without the empowerment. You have to give both. And the interesting thing is, if you really believe in people, and this I do, if you really believe that people are smart and they'll figure it out, then give them goals and give them empowerment and then hold them accountable. And it's the most amazing thing what you see will happen. They'll make it happen. I mean, I kid around with the teams here in India, but I've given them over the years incredibly tough goals. And they cry and they moan and they will never be able to do it. And I tell them, I believe in you, we give them the training, and they've made it every single time. And we've continued to grow. And we've seen our market share grow, we've seen our guest satisfaction grow, our brands have gotten more popular in India, but you have to give them both. But in the Indian context, you've got to get rid of the bureaucracy. You don't need 40 people in accounting and 2 people at the front desk. You need 40 people at the front desk and 2 people in accounting. And so look for ways to use these other tools to do that. We had a hotel, one last story. I'll tell you to answer this question. We had a hotel in a city that I won't name that we came in, we converted. And I'll never forget, we came in there and we bought computers for the accounting department, and we got everyone new uniforms, we had renovated the cafeteria, we did all the things we could, and I came back a year later and there were still 40 people in accounting and they all had all new computers. And my question was, do we still need 40 people in accounting if they all have computers now where no one had computers before? And it wasn't about firing people, because we had grown over that time period. They could have transferred people. But it was about thinking through it and thinking, do you really need all these processes? We create processes to protect ourselves, but many times the processes stand in the way of progress.
Well, that said, how do you prioritize India in the context of your growth story going forward?
It's huge. Our fastest growing market in the world, let's start with that, is Asia Pacific. And so our CEO is laser focused on what we do here. It's good news and bad news for me. I'll either be a star or I'll flame out very quickly and be sent off to some other part of the world. Within Asia Pacific, we have 2 major markets, China obviously and India. China today is the larger market, it's bigger, but those are the 2 biggest growth markets that we have. But today India, obviously the GDP of India is growing very quickly, and so it makes it, I don't know that India will catch up in the short term, in the next 5 years with the size that we have. We have 270 hotels in China. In India we have close to 90. And we'll double our footprint in India easily within 4 years. We have hotels signed under development, and that's an easy thing. The goals that we've given the team is a little bit higher. So these are the fastest growing markets. The difference is that let me go backwards a little bit. The importance to our company for China and India is twofold. So anywhere else, it's onefold. It's just how many hotels you have and how well you can do and how much money we can make in these countries. In the case of India and China, it's now about outbound business. As the Indian economy continues to grow, as you become a much larger and much more important global player, you have outbound Indian business. So if you know our brands, if someone is in Lucknow and they know our brands and they like our hotels there, when they travel now to New York, they'll probably prefer to stay in one of our brands. And so it's twofold strategy. It's capturing the Indian market in India, but also capturing the market as they expand. And so India is going to be a huge piece of our global growth as we go forward, and the importance of India. Indians are impatient, and I call it the incredible impatient India. But the impatience is something that makes India great. People want to work hard. They want to do well. But you're the fastest growing economy in Asia Pacific, and all I hear from the newspapers is everybody's upset. And I watch the news and everyone's upset and people are talking over each other and complaining. I'm thinking, wow, we would have given our president a 3rd term if we had growth rates anywhere near yours.
Well, I'd like to touch upon a point you mentioned earlier, which is, the members of your rewards programs. And with this merger, what does that imply for people that are part of perhaps one program and not the other? How does it all become seamlessly integrated?
So we are integrating it, but we're not doing it overnight. We went back and looked at what some of the airlines did across the world, some of the large airlines, when they integrated, and they actually upset many of the rewards customers because they did it too fast. And so the first thing that we did is on day one, we allowed what we called status matching. So if you were an elite, if you were a platinum with Marriott Rewards, automatically that same day you could go online and you could match and you would get a card for the same status in SPG, or vice versa. The second thing that we did that first day is we allowed people to go online and move points across, almost like foreign currencies. And so that ability to move points back and forth if you want to go on a vacation. Marriott hotels didn't have any hotels in the Maldives. Starwood today has St. Regis, I should say Starwood. Marriott today has a St. Regis hotel, a W, and a Sheraton. So if you're a Marriott Rewards member and you wanted to use your points that you've earned traveling on business and take your family to a vacation, you can now do it by just simply going in and exchanging points and moving them across. So we did that, and we had 500,000 people do that in 7 days. Imagine that, in 7 days. And you know how many complaints I had? One. I had one complaint from a guest that asked for something he wasn't eligible for. So I was feeling pretty good about it. So that was the first phase. And the next phase is you have Marriott Rewards, SPG, and you have Ritz-Carlton Rewards. And the next phase is eventually we'll pull these all completely together. We don't know what the name will be yet. It may not be Marriott Rewards. It may be something else. We're not sure yet. But we want to make sure that we take at least 12 months so that we get it right, and we don't lose the customers or alienate them in the process. I have multiple emails and letters from SPG and Marriott Rewards customers saying, Craig, don't mess this up. And people I've never met before, they find my name on LinkedIn, or they just, it's easy, you know, I won't tell my email because half the world will email me now, but they all write me a note and say, don't mess this up. And there's a responsibility to make sure that we keep them happy. They pay our salaries.
And for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and our viewers watching that are looking to embark on a career in the hospitality industry, what words of advice would you share with them?
Oh, it's a great industry. It's an industry of growth. I would tell them, get your foot in the door anywhere you can, and learn the business from the ground up. I graduated from a very good university, and my mother was, I think, surprised and a little taken back when I took a job as a housekeeping manager. And I did it because I wanted to learn the business from the ground up. Now, there were a lot of days when I was working in housekeeping that I regretted it, and I thought friends and cooler and sexier jobs in business development. But I learned the business from the ground up. And today, when I walk in a hotel, the advantage it gives you. The second piece would be learn how to lead other people. You will learn technical. All of us get into our fields of business, and even the hotel business, learning how to do something, and that's your value. But someday you'll lead people. And so learning how to lead people, and you run a hotel, you've got 300, 400, 500, 600 people that work for you. Learning how to lead all those people and motivate them, that's something that can't be taught in school. It comes from experience and it comes from time. And I would say, come join a company like ours, work hard, look for a company like ours. It doesn't have to be ours, but look for a company that doesn't care what city you were born in, who your parents were, what religion you are, but promotes based on what you do versus where you came from. And I think then you'll have a successful career.
That wraps up this episode of MSME Dialogues and bringing you expert takeaways in the hospitality space. If you are a company that wants to be featured on the show, have any queries about any aspect of your business, you can write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can personally tweet at me at Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or call us on that number you see on your screens. We promise to have all your queries answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.